Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the 2016 One Nation of Gamers Circuit feature number 3. My name is TJ. I'm joined once again by That's Admirable, and we're about to jump into an elimination match. One of these players will be moving on to face another game, and the other will be going home or staying home and being sad. It's going to be Phone Tap versus Terrence M. Admirable, we just got off of a weird set. Just saying it's playing a very weird Shaman deck. I'm kind of curious how that Shaman deck's going to fare, but judging by these guys' lineups, we're not going to be seeing too many crazy things going into this losers match.
Yeah, I mean, already seen both of them play. Terrence has decided to ban out Warlock here and leave the Hunter up, and I think this is kind of the wild card of the format right now. I say that, and then we just saw what Just Saying played in the Shaman build, but Hunter has kind of two different ways that it approaches the matchups right now. Obviously, Call of the Wild is sort of the centerpiece of the Hunter builds right now. The question is, are they running Doomsayer to try to set up the Call of the Wild turn, or are they just trying to brute force their way to a Call of the Wild and make a big impact there? Because I know I've fallen to both of these builds. And when they go turn 6 Savannah Highmane, and then turn 7 they drop a Doomsayer, you kind of look at the board and you go, well, I need to kill the Savannah Highmane, but I need to kill the Doomsayer too. And you go, okay, I'll kill the Savannah Highmane, Doomsayer goes off. And then they land a Call of the Wild on an empty board, and you're just like, oh, I'm just dead.
Yeah.
That's pretty powerful. Now, that being said, almost every single time I've had Call of the Wild cast against me, it's been a pretty big problem.
Yeah.
So that's really the bread and butter of that deck. Where it really struggles is going to be like turns 1 through 4. It kind of has much weaker minions than it's used to. So very curious to see how Phone Tap's decided to take that direction and whether or not he can also get the early game going with that build. We saw him with Rogue. He did have a little bit of a missteps, not hurrying through his Gadgetzan turns enough. Phone Tap, I know, is a very emotional player. I've seen him get a little bit stressed out in some of his matches, especially in high-pressure situations, where Terrence, on the other hand, very even keel, but at times brings some decks that are a little bit peculiar. This one, I feel like his lineup's just very solid. I feel like he played the series versus Chalky very solid. I got to give the edge to Terrence in this one, but hopefully Phone Tap can put something together here. So I'd like to see a good set between these two, but I think that Hunter, if anything, is going to be the deck that he needs to really perform with.
Yeah, I'll definitely agree with you. Now, Hunter, it has been having a lot of success recently. We've seen a lot of players had that in their lineup, doing work. And the player that finished #1 legend in North America, King of Type, he's actually a Japanese player. He played Hunter all the way up there, and the battle for rank 1 this season was actually really intense. Usually it's like one guy gets there and camps there and nobody can touch him, or they get to rank 2 and they're afraid to queue. But there's a couple of people that play at the top echelons of NA rank that are never afraid to queue. They'll queue all up into the very last moment. And Fibonacci and Silent Storm are two of those guys, and they were the ones who were fighting him for rank 1. So a really impressive season by him, and he was playing Hunter. So, that's just sort of a nod to its effectiveness, at least on ladder. But as we've seen, ladder stats always don't translate into tournament victories, and we'll definitely have to see. Terrence is running the Dragon Tempo Warrior, it seems, but certainly throw me for a loop because I haven't seen that card much in this deck.
Yeah, I've been seeing it kind of creeping more and more since they realized that the Dragon variants are moving very much away from the control style and moving more towards almost like the Druid-esque style where you try to just power out very strong things and hope that your opponent doesn't have a reasonable answer to them. This is the deck that Fibonacci actually played at EGLX, where he chose to play Dragon Warrior there with 2 copies of Draconid Crusher. We've seen quite an evolution since that point, moving more towards a refined curve with Core Crown Elites, and Draconid Crusher sometimes creeps in here and sometimes it doesn't. But curious to see how Terrence is going to take this on. I know Shaman can be kind of a tough matchup, but Terrence has 2 of the very critical cards in his hand to tackle this. Number 1 is Core Crown Elite to make sure you can get favorable trades versus all the smaller minions in here. And number 2 is that Twilight Guardian. Now, he doesn't have a dragon just yet. So if he can draw a dragon in the next couple of turns, that one could be a major problem for Phone Tap. And even going to take the Rogue hero power here just to try to offset this advantage and maybe pick off a couple of 1-health minions if he can.
Yeah, if you lose the board too early against aggressive forms of Shaman, you're going to lose. I mean, Life Tap just sort of plays in their plan. A lot of times this deck, it just curves. It doesn't do a lot of things in a single turn. And so having to expend Life Tap early on, especially before turn 5, which are the crucial turns, instead of gaining board control. I definitely do like the dagger pick, even if it is unorthodox. It's sort of jankily, if that's a word, I don't know, fills the void of a missed fire war axe, which Terrence M didn't hit. So,
yeah, I'm curious to see what the play is here. A couple different ways to go about this one, but only one of them is right.
Yeah, totem a pass. Don't even attack. You don't want him to battle rage, even though he can do it with his own dagger.
Totem pass is the strongest one, clearly.
Yeah. And by totem pass, I meant flame tip totem, and by pass, I meant trade into the Sir Finley. Great play by Phone Tap, and he finds the correct answer. Picks up a slam. It's not a dragon, but he still has one more turn before he can activate that Twilight Guardian. He can use the slam to try and draw a card on the Flame Tech Totem, maybe set up for a Ravaging Ghoul, plus something else next turn. But in the meantime, he's sort of under threat of, Tuskar Totemic into Healing Totem by itself, and he's just going to go ahead and take the safer option, and just go ahead and take out the Tunnel Trog with the slam.
Yeah, like this play, just super clean. The Totem is not doing much by itself, so Phone Tap going to be able to add a little bit more here. Oh, that's a jackpot one, too. That is about the best you can possibly do with that card.
Wow, nice positioning, LOL.
Yeah, it's the only option he really has for it.
No, I'm just kidding. But I said before, Tuskar Totemic would be such a cool card if you could place the totem after you played it. Be so broken. Don't listen to me. Going off on tangents. Arable, save me. Save me from myself.
Nice positioning.
LOL. Then you could really rail on the people who put their totems in the wrong spot.
What to do?
All right, well, this play seems... okay, well, I said it seems straightforward. Lightning Bolt plus Argent Horse Rider, but then you delay your Doomhammer by a turn. And Doomhammer is super effective.
Would you trade a 3-2 to get a Doomhammer a turn earlier? That's kind of the question here. Now, that being said, he'll get a lot of mileage out of that 3-2 if he chooses to leave it on board. And so he's just going to go for Flame Juggler Totem here instead. Follow up with a Doomhammer, and then have Argent Horse Rider and Lightning Bolt ready for turn 6.
I don't know if I agree with that play. I know it feels bad, and the general rule of thumb is to Doomhammer on 5, but I feel like out of all the matchups, this might be the matchup where Doomhammer is the least important. But maybe I'm wrong in that, and I feel like just having a board is just so strong, because you can dictate the trades. You can use Doomhammer later on, but I guess in this situation, it's going to do him some good. He can either opt to attack into it twice to preserve the health on his Totem Golem, or attack into it twice and trade into Totem Golem to preserve all of his minions, but leave his Totem Golem susceptible to Ravaging Ghoul or any 1-damage spell. So there's actually quite a few ways to go about this.
Yeah, pretty solid turns, honestly. Like I'm curious how consequential the damage actually is here with the Doomhammer. It still feels like the strongest play to me.
What to do?
Now, I'm certain he's going to think about what happens if I tank 6 damage and then Harrison Jones hits. Then I don't have Doomhammer Rockbiter. So that's certainly worth considering as well.
Yeah.
But if you choose to use Lightning Bolt, that means you're trading in the shield, you're trading in the 2-3, and you're not getting Doomhammer on the board. And I don't like that. I think this is worth the extra life. I think it's worth foregoing using your Lightning Bolt and your Rockbiter. This is just more damage to face you could get.
He's going with the greedy line.
Yeah, this is going to weaken the Totem Golem as well. And just keep the 2-3 on board. Which I don't mind this either. I think this is totally fine. This does force some action from Terrence M to clear up 2 minions now instead of 1, unless he's going to continue to tank some damage. I like the dagger up as well to clean this up, but really on a back foot here. Doomhammer is putting a major clock on Terrence right now.
Yeah.
Ooh, Thing from Below is really solid too. Thing from Below into Lightning Bolt and just face. Phone Tap has now gotten the word that Terrence does not have a Harrison Jones, so unless he top decks it, that Doomhammer is going to continue to connect.
Yeah, and without that armor up, there's no way to gain armor with this deck, because a lot of times the majority of the time, this deck doesn't run armor smiths. Those 2 drops are filled by Fairy Dragons, Alexstrasza's Champion, and Fire War Axe. So there's just going to be no way to gain health. You sort of rely on gaining the board early or a lot of times even gaining the board in the mid game by like comboing Alishaz's champion with Fireworks and Blackwing Corrupt there in order to just wrestle control of the board. But I mean, he's just in lots of trouble here.
14 damage available this turn. That is a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a Force of Nature Savage Roar.
Yeah, that's 4 more than 10.
That's 1 less than 15. And 15's a lot.
15 is
14
half of 30,
also a lot.
which is the total of the health.
Yeah, 14, that's
Oh my God.
almost 15. That's about 20. That's 2/3.
I think we're on to something here.
Should be politicians.
It's a roundabout way of saying Terrence M is not long for this world. At least not for this game.
Yeah, I don't really see a way he's winning this game, honestly. Like, even if he draws Harrison Jones at this point, Doomhammer's gotten in 12 plus 3 damage. So Doomhammer alone's dealt 15 damage.
Yeah. I mean, you have to draw Harrison Jones, plus draw into a way to clear the board, and it's just impossible. Terrence M is just going to go ahead and concede out of this game, and Phone Tap's going to take a 1-game lead now, taking a win with that aggressively themed Shaman over the Dragon Tempo Warrior. And cool to see that deck. I've really liked that deck for a long time. I've been playing that deck a little bit in my climb this season. And, it feels good. Like, it just curves. And those are the types of deck that you want to play early on in the season because they're sort of mindless when you have to grind out 100 games the ladder. You just 3 mana, 4 mana. But it is very
great
strong.
Druid.
It is very. Once upon a time, I threw out a really mean Force of Nature Savage Roar. I'll tell you.
I feel like I never had that unless I just